How's it going, everyone? I'm ZBilbs, and today I'm going to be ranking my top 10 favorite Metallica albums. Now, I'm going to set down some ground rules because there's a few albums that I'm not going to include. That's going to be Lulu, because no. I'm not going to include Garage Inc. or S&M. I just want core studio albums on here, no live albums, no EPs. So just the top 10 main Metallica albums. Also, before I hop into the list, I just want to let you know that this is not the right list, it's just my list. And since I'm generally new to the metal scene, a lot of you are going to massively disagree with my opinions, but it's just my opinion, so hang in there and be civil about it. But either way, I'm going to start off with number 10, which shouldn't be a surprise to most of you, but it's Saint Anger. So this is the only Metallica album that I would genuinely consider to be a bad album, because it's not surprising why. It's, the drums are just off sounding. You don't got any Kirk Hammett solos. It's just all around not good. Probably uh, all of my worst songs, my top 5 worst songs, are all from this album. But there is the one saving grace of this album is I do very much enjoy Frantic. And then I've also got a soft spot for the title track, Saint Anger, and Shoot Me Again, but the rest of it is just not good. But moving on, we've got number 9, which this one's going to upset a lot of you, but it's actually Kill 'Em All. Now, I know a lot of people out there rank this as their favorite album, and I understand why, because this is kind of like the core thrash roots for Metallica and for a lot of metal in general. But for me personally, I just don't jive too much with this album. There are 2 songs that I absolutely love from it, that being Seek and Destroy and The Four Horsemen. I also really like Phantom Lord and Whiplash, but the rest of it, I just not a huge fan of. I understand why people love this one, but personally, I just enjoy other albums more. I don't think it's a bad album. It's just not my favorite. But moving on, at 8th place, I have Reload. So I feel like this one gets a little bit of a bad rap. This one is generally low for a lot of people, and it is low on my list, but I actually really like Reload. It's got some great iconic Metallica songs like Fuel, Memory Remains, and then some really underrated ones in my opinion, like Where the Wild Things Are and The Unforgiven 2. Just all around, it's a very experimental album with songs like Bad Seed, Prince Charming, Attitude, stuff like that. A lot of it feels like they were going for just a complete new vibe, and it works somewhat, but then in other spots, it's just not great. But all around, it's an all right album. I'd say it's an average album. It's probably worth listening to, but I think there's definitely better albums. But moving on, in 7th place, we have got the most recent album, Hardwired to Selfdestruct. Now, this album I did not much care for when I first listened to it. It was just, it felt like there's, a couple songs that were all right, but the rest were just lame. But the more I listen to it, the more I like it. I still don't love it. For me, there's 5 songs that I think are absolutely awesome. That being Moth into Flame, Now That We're Dead, the title track, Hardwired, Spit Out the Bone, and Atlas Rise is the last one. I think all those 5 tracks are just phenomenal. But then what really weighs this album down is a bunch of really crappy songs like Murder One, Man Unkind, Confusion, just a lot of just mediocre to bad songs that keep this back from being a truly great album. But yeah, that's it. 7th place, Hardwired to Self-Destruct. Moving on to 6th place, I've got an album that I think gets a bad rap. A lot of people consider this to be one of the worst, if not the worst album, and I really don't get it. I think it's a phenomenal album, and that's Death Magnetic. This has got one of my favorite Metallica songs on there, being All Nightmare Long. It's also got other great songs like Cyanide, the massively underrated Unforgiven 3. I really love the Unforgiven trilogy of songs. I know a lot of people don't, but I love it. You also got The End of the Line. You've got The Day That Never Comes. It's just all around just a really solid album. There's not really any song from there that I would consider to be bad. There's some more mediocre songs, like That Was Just Your Life, but I don't know, a lot of people consider this album to be when Metallica just played it safe, coming back from Saint Anger, and it was just too generic, just too boring, and I disagree with that entirely. It's just not higher because there's better albums out there. Moving on to number 5, just ahead of Death Magnetic by a hair, is And Justice for All. Now, I know this is another one that people are going to be mad that it's so low, because a lot of people, this is their absolute favorite. And I really like this album, but there's others that I just enjoy more. This one is great. You've got one of the all-time best Metallica songs on there. It's not overplayed. It's great. And then you've got other great ones. You got, Harvester of Sorrow, and you've got Blackened, you've got Eye of the Beholder, which I think is massively underrated, and then you've also got To Live Is To Die, which is one of my favorite Metallica instrumentals. I think that one's underrated as well. Just all in all, making for just a really solid album. There's a couple more middling ones in there that I don't like as much as other people, like Shortest Straw or Dyer's Eve. Still think they're good, I just don't think they're spectacular. But all in all, just a really solid album at 5th place. But moving on to 4th place, this is one that I would say another controversial opinion. Most people tend to lump Load and Reload together, but I think Load is a significant step up from Reload, and that is what's at my 4th spot. Now this one, it's definitely held back by some bad songs like Hero of the Day. That one's just absolutely atrocious. But this has got some of my all-time favorite songs in there, some underrated songs in there. You've got, King Nothing, which is fantastic. You've got Bleeding Me, which I think is really slept on. That one is one of my all-time favorites. You've got House That Jack Built. You got 2x4. You've got The Outlaw Torn. Mwah, fantastic song. You've got Until It Sleeps, another underrated one. And then you've got also another crazy underrated song. There's a lot of underrated songs. Thorn Within, I love that song. A lot of people don't seem to much care for it, but I think it's fantastic. Just all in all, just a really solid album. Just held down by a couple of crappy songs here and there, but all in all, just fantastic. Moving on to my top 3, all 3 of these are incredibly close, and I could see myself putting these 3 at number 1 any different day, but as of right now, this is what it is. But at 3rd place, I have Ride the Lightning. Now this is, like, what else is there to say about this album? This is usually 1 or 2 in most people's album ranking. You've got Creeping Death, you've got For Whom the Bell Tolls, you've got Call of Cthulhu, you've got freaking Fade to Black. I love Fade to Black. This is where people started getting mad at Metallica for selling out. I think it's one of their best all-time songs. It's just, it's Kill 'Em All, but then completely new, revitalized, different, but still heavy, still absolutely iconic. It's just fantastic. But moving on to number 2, I've got the Black Album. Now, we're being really controversial on this list, but this one might be even more controversial than putting Load at number 4, because I know a lot of people hate the Black Album because this is where Metallica sold out for like the 3rd time. But for me, in my opinion, something being popular is not the same as selling out. And I absolutely love the Black Album. There's some more mediocre songs in there that I don't much care for, like Struggle Within. I'm having a hard time remembering them because they're so forgettable, but this has got some of my all-time favorite songs in there. Enter Sandman, overplayed, yes, but still spectacular. You've got The God That Failed, you've got Unforgiven 1, you've got Sad But True, you've got Nothing Else Matters, you've got Wherever I May Roam. All absolutely amazing, classic Metallica songs, in my opinion. I know, overrated, overplayed, I disagree. I think it's amazing and only slightly outclassed by my number 1 pick, which shouldn't be too much of a surprise, but it's Master of Puppets. when it comes to consistency and quality, there's not one better album, in my opinion, besides Master of Puppets. Master Puppets, 8 songs, and I think 7 out of 8 of them are absolute classics. The only one I don't love, which I know a lot of people love, is Leper Messiah. Not a huge fan of that one, but once again, a lot of people love it, and good on you if you like that one. But definitely some all-time favorites in there. You've got, obviously, the title track, Master Puppets, is most people's #1 pick, or at least in their top 3, and it's absolutely spectacular. You know, you got solid ones like Damage Inc. You've got The Thing That Should Not Be. You've got Battery, another fantastic one. You've got the absolute best Metallica instrumental, in my opinion, which is Orion. Fantastic. You know, you've got Disposable Heroes. When it comes to Metallica, this is just the absolute shining image of Metallica, in my opinion, and I don't think there will ever be a better album than Master Puppets. And that's that, pretty much. So that's my top 10 Metallica albums, all their main studio albums ranked. Let me know what you thought of this list in the comments, and let me know if you want me to rank my top 10 Metallica songs, or if you want to see all of the songs ranked. Let me know if you want me to rank some other metal band albums, or do any other kind of videos. This is a new type of video for me, so just comment below. Let me know if you liked it. Let me know what you want to see. And that's all I got for you. See you later.